On a silent night, a lonely boy stands beneath a street lamp, his face filled with melancholy. Someone nearby watches the starry sky and then turns their attention to the boy. At that moment, the night is so silent that nothing can be heard, just like the night the world was created. The man approaches the boy, and with a somber look, the boy appears hopeless. While the man's face is golden and bright, the street lamp illuminates their surroundings. The blond man then calls the boy's attention, asking if the world's difficulties have made him fall. With an empty gaze, the boy stares at him, and the man tells him something cool, asking him to keep it close to his heart. With a smiling face, the man says that all the stars are shining for the boy, and that one day, when they are both stronger, they will meet again. Meanwhile, somewhere else, people are training boxing. A white-haired boy is in the ring, landing a straight punch on his opponent's face. The crowd is impressed as someone begins talking about a person near the master, continuing to say that they heard this man is traveling the world looking for a good fighter, but never thought he would come to this gym. He is a legendary trainer who has raised 5 world champions, and is known as K-A-Man turns his attention elsewhere and shouts at a kid to stop listening to the conversation and get back to training. Back to the fight, the guy in red tries to hit the white-haired boy, but he dodges. When he attempts a cross-punch, the boy dodges again, looking seriously at his opponent. Taking advantage of the opening, he lands a small jab to knock him out. K immediately focuses on this movement. The guy in red is already falling unconscious to the ground. A man beside K asks what he thinks of Beck. He seems to be mocking his opponent, whom he just defeated. His adversary quickly gets up and tries to throw a cross punch, but his punch is easily blocked. In disbelief, the guy cannot believe it, and Beck hits him on the jaw again. In his mind, the old man thinks this boy is just playing around, so it's impossible to measure his ability, saying he wants to see Beck fight the strongest guy in the gym next. The other man doesn't seem to understand very well. We see a huge guy getting ready in another area. Someone arrives, calling for Cheel and saying the master is looking for him. The master tells the trainer that the big guy is ranked 3rd in the middleweight category, so maybe Beck won't win because of the weight difference. Beck continues smiling and looks over the ropes. Cheel arrives and asks if the master is looking for him, then suddenly gets surprised because the legendary K is present. His master talks to him about the situation. Cheel observes the boy, and at one point Beck and Cheel face each other. The man tells Cheel to take it easy as a precaution. He agrees not to go all out. Stretching, the boy doesn't appear nervous. The trainer just watches the white-haired boy's attitude. Cheel asks the kid if he won't use any protective gear. Beck says if he uses it, it will mess up his hair, and besides, he likes the thrill that comes with it. Cheel says he will fix the boy's arrogant hairstyle, and Beck says he is looking forward to it. They then tap gloves while the rest watch the boy's taunts. Cheel looks displeased. The trainer is very serious. We see Beck without any guard, just swaying in front of Cheel. Everyone asks what the hell he is doing. The master thinks the boy is showing his true form and face, recalling that when he first met him, he would never forget what he saw, especially those movements he had never seen before. Beck asks if those are all the punch styles Cheel has. Angrily, Cheel tries his luck with a right cross. The boy, with an unconventional style that could even be considered genius, punches the guy in the nose. The spectators are amazed, saying it's incredible. In his mind, the trainer says the boy found an opening in the cross punch, which is not bad for an amateur, but he knows T here is a vast barrier between a professional and an amateur. Something no one can easily break. Quickly, Cheel tries to hit the boy, but he dodges the punch. Cheel prepares another punch and advances. Beck looks shocked as he sees the punch approaching, and his arms are raised by the bald guy. But when Beck was about to be hit, he surprisingly dodged, moving to the side and avoiding another attack coming his way. Everyone was shocked by his agility. The coach remained serious, just observing the fight. They wondered why it happened. Among everyone, the happiest was their master. Beck remarked that Cheel was quite resilient to withstand that blow, while Cheel expressed his amazement at the boy's skill. Beck thanked the compliment of the small bow. In his mind, Cheel thought that Beck wasn't a beginner, but still more abnormal than other people, and he added that he couldn't disappoint Coach K, charging at the boy with full force. Cheel prepared a powerful attack. By taking a step back, the boy managed to escape that monstrous strike, but the big guy didn't leave him any breathing room. Yet again, Beck dodged. He pretended to throw a long punch, causing Cheel to lower his guard slightly for a counterattack, but the boy only feigned landing an uppercut on Cheel's chin. Cheel was incredulous, struck by the blow, while the audience couldn't believe what they were seeing. The big guy had no idea how he was hit by an uppercut. His master thought it was incredible. Enraged, Cheel tried to retaliate, but his blows couldn't reach back. All his attempts seemed to fail, and the boy managed to strike him again. Cheel admitted he couldn't keep up, seeing the boy move incredibly fast, appearing suddenly in front of him with amazing angles and timing. Furious, Cheel wondered who this boy was. In his subconscious, the coach talked about the boy's flexibility, adding that his elasticity allowed for various unrestrained attacks. A punch that started as an uppercut changed suddenly to an overhand. This was incredible, because changing the attack midway usually disperses the force, rendering the move useless. But, unlike an amateur, the boy completed his strike professionally. A boxer was never trained to handle someone like him. Beck's style was simply free, and his way of dodging was carefree with sudden and irregular attacks. The old man thought it had been a long time since he saw a style like this. While Cheel looked at the boy, Beck stood facing him. The coach remarked that this was a talent granted by the gods, but noted that Beck still lacked something: experience. Surprised, the boy said he felt cornered. A cloth ended up covering his eyes on the ground. The master arrived, saying he had asked Cheel to go easy. In his mind, Cheel declared that if this weren't in a ring, the result might have been different. Coach K seemed to be pondering something. Everyone left, saying they didn't imagine Beck would be that good. Soon, the master asked the coach what he thought of the boy. Clearly, the coach said that Beck had the potential to be a legendary boxer, an innate talent, good physical strength, and a great athletic sense. But some of his moves were visibly flashy yet inefficient. In his thoughts, the coach mentioned there were some places to visit, but after witnessing the spectacle, there might be no need. They heard a noise from outside the window, seeing bullies apparently intimidating someone. The master was about to say something, but the coach stopped him, telling him to wait. They saw the protagonist being held by the collar without showing any emotion. A punch flew towards his face, but he still showed no expression, his gaze appearing lonely. Kay was somehow confused, feeling a kind of shock in his mind. Despite being hurt, the protagonist didn't seem to care. Paying closer attention to the boy's face, Kay seemed to recognize him, but still, there was no emotion on the boy's face. The old man told the master he was going down, and then went down, telling them to stop what they were doing. The master quickly ordered the bullies to get up. However, the coach continued to observe the protagonist return to leave. The coach questioned why he didn't even try to dodge. They just stared at each other in silence. To him, the boy could have easily dodged those worthless attacks. The boy remained silent. In his mind, Kay said that if his hunch was correct, not even a professional could touch the boy. Seeing the old man, the protagonist said he didn't care about the aggression. He felt silent and credulous at what he had heard, bowed to leave the place, and the coach just watched him. A guy on the ground says that the boy deserved it because he shows no respect to veterans. Soon, the master asks what they know about respect, but the old man keeps watching the protagonist walk away. Kay says he will trust his intuition, but if he is wrong, something serious could happen. But he says he has always lived like this, then starts walking forward. The old man calls the protagonist's attention, so the young man turns around. We see the trainer going all out to hit the boy's head. He sees the fist coming his way and easily dodges it. The master asks what the trainer is doing, and the trainer directly asks if the boy wants to learn boxing. The boy, with an empty look, asks if it would be fun, if hitting people is fun. Kay looks at the protagonist and thinks that he doesn't have it. The boy has no desire for fame, money, power, domination, or any longing for superiority. The boy is certainly different from what he saw today, because he either grew up rich and spoiled or in the worst conditions. Answering the protagonist's question, Kay asks if it's not obvious. Looking at the guys on the ground, the trainer says that those people have no guilt for hitting him and confirms that hitting other people is very fun. Humans are weak creatures longing for meaning in their lives, so T here is nothing fairer than using fists. Just like in nature, brute force is the easiest way to prove your dominance. People are fanatical about the thrill of seeing a show of strength, shouting, "The old man says that the protagonist is also human, so he must strive as hard as he can," saying that he must spread his wings and fly until the sun burns them. Destroy his enemies, that's what it means to be alive. The trainer asked the boy to watch him. Then the old man assumes his stance. Soon the man prepares and then begins to demonstrate some punches. A sequence of punches. The trainer says this sequence is called 1-2, suddenly saying that the protagonist has 1 month. That's the time he will stay at the gym and to come see him when he is ready. The master observes what just happened. On another day at school, we see some students talking and just being students. Our boy is sitting at the back looking out the window. Some boys insult a blonde kid, stealing a large amount of money from the young boy. The young boy, named Jay, seemed to be enduring something until Buck tells him to lean a little more, a rather deplorable situation. But Buck talks normally with the boys about going out and ends up saying that he has boxing classes so he can't go. The boy continues to endure the wait. Buck smiles, hearing his friends talk about him being the future boxing champion. In this world, there are 2 types of people, the weak and the strong. The same guy from before arrives and slaps the protagonist, saying that he got them into trouble. He goes towards Jay, saying that it's already recess, and asks him to come along. During recess in another place, Beck is eating instant noodles along with the other boys. The bully says tea here is nothing better than a cup during lunch and asks if Jay agrees. He says yes. Beck questions if he likes it so much, why hasn't he eaten anything yet? Jay is trembling with a caterpillar in his bowl. The bully says there aren't enough ingredients, then stands up and spits in the boy's bowl. Beck takes the guy's lollipop, saying it will give extra flavor. Everyone starts to mock the boy. Jay is almost crying. Beck asks if it's still not seasoned. The boy says nothing and continues to eat. They laugh the situation and Jay goes to the sink to vomit. He leans against the drinking fountain. Later, the boys are playing soccer. Our protagonist and Jay just watch. Beck controls the ball and kicks it towards the goal. Both seem completely desolate. Jay asks Yu why he is not playing. The boy says it's not fun. Jay agrees, smiling. The boy asks the protagonist if he has something he likes. He thinks for a moment and says he has never thought about it. The image of the trainer reflects in his mind and he wonders if he is not human. Yu asks Jay if has something he wants to do in the future. He says he wants to be like his father. Jay says he bought a new game and asks Yu if he wants to come to his house to try it out. They keep talking and Beck notices this. Jay tells the protagonist that he always wanted to get to know him better. Suddenly, Beck kicks the ball towards the boy. Yu easily catches the ball. Beck watches the situation. Jay is astonished by this. We see that Beck is furious about it, so he walks towards them. Looking at the protagonist, the boy slaps him, pulling his hair and says it was just a joke and asks if he can't take a joke, adding that if Yu gets in his way again, he will be dead. The protagonist has no reaction, while the boy is trembling with fear. Later, after the bell rings, Jay tells Yu that he will go ahead because he has something to do at home. Alone, the protagonist just watches. In another place, someone is training, throwing the equipment on the ground. We see someone teaching Jay when he was little how to do a jab. The boy grits his teeth and keeps punching the air, saying he has to be brave, but all he did was stand there trembling. He calls himself a loser. Sitting down, the boy says he needs to pull himself together and face the enemy head-on, but he is afraid of facing Beck. He says that since he was a kid, he has watched boxing, so he already knows who is weak and who is strong. He then squeezes his arm. The boy says Beck's strength is certainly not normal, besides the weight difference. The guy was at the level of a professional athlete, but Beck was smiling while beating him. An ordinary person can't do anything in front of absolute talent. Later, when night falls, someone opens a door. Jay just watches the person enter. Getting up, the boy greets his father. He is surprised that his son is still awake. Jay asks his father about when he was a boxer and faced his stronger opponent, what he did. His father looks at him in silence and says that he was a professional boxer, so he always did his best. Slightly disheartened, Jay agrees with his father. His father gets up and says that he rarely encountered someone terribly strong. When that happened, he would tremble and everything he learned became useless. Instinctively, he would throw random punches, hoping his opponent would knock him out, and when he fell to the ground, he would say that finally that hell was over. But even after kneeling to the opponent, he knew he could still get up, and that is what a true boxer does. Jay's eyes shine with admiration. His father says that this only applies to a boxer. In real life, if you meet someone stronger, you should run as fast as possible. That is true courage. Both the courage of an ordinary person and that of a boxer should not be underestimated. Jay thanks him and says he will go to his room. The boy sleeps thinking about what his father said. In another place, still at night, our protagonist is walking, school that ended 4 hours ago. Beck says he is late and adds that he was waiting for him, also mentioning that their teacher kindly provided Yu's address. The protagonist walks past him, but Beck asks where he is going and then kicks him, making him lose his balance. Yu falls to the ground. Beck pulls his hair and asks if he knows how to punch because earlier, Yu seemed to have good reflexes. Beck gets even more serious and makes the protagonist get to know the asphalt more closely, saying he seemed like a ghost for having no reaction. Even after this, Yu still has no reaction. Beck says that from now on, the protagonist's life will become a nightmare, and adds that tomorrow he should bring 150 in cash, spitting on the young man's face. Leaving, he says, the protagonist is a loser. Our boy is left alone in the dark. Beck walks back home. Suddenly, he feels something strange and becomes alert. Looking ahead, he sees several people. A bald guy with a scar on his mouth asks if the kid is back, Ryo. He answers yes with a smile. Then the bald guy says he is here to find out if he has really got strong. The boy takes a few steps forward and punches the guy who falls back immediately. Beck gives the sinister smile, making the others scared. A little later, the others are already finished. Beck looks and grabs the little guy who apparently is scared. The boy says that's the expression he wants to see on him. Even apologizing, screams are heard around the moon. Everyone is down on the ground while the victor is back. At the protagonist's house, he is holding a cat in his lap. While staring into nothingness, the next day we see Jay washing his face. He seems quite cheerful. The boy eats his breakfast and says he will eat a bit more today. Then he puts on his clothes and says that from this moment, a new version of him will emerge. Later at school, as usual, the boy stays in his corner. The bullies arrive and one of them says he feels great after beating up a kid. Jay tells himself not to be afraid. They pass by him and do nothing. The boy doesn't understand why they did nothing to him. But on second thought, he was a bit late. The class ends and everyone is talking normally. Jay wonders why he wasn't bullied, remembering what the bullies said when they arrived. He asks if that's possible. Meanwhile, in another part of the school, the bullies are beating up the protagonist because he didn't bring the money. A bald guy tells him to get up because it's not over yet. Adjusting his stance, the guy punches our boy. After a while, he asks Beck if his stance is correct. Beck says he needs to rotate his hips more. Suddenly, Jay arrives, asking them to stop. Everyone looks surprised by his action, while Jay can't believe he actually said that. The cooted guy asks what the hell the boy is doing, and the young man starts trembling. Jay is overcome with fear, wondering why he did that. Beck watches him, and then the boy says he can't back down now. The bully says Jay is trembling, but the boy says he can do this. He assumes his fighting stance. Beck laughs psychotically, while Yu watches from the ground. In his thoughts, Jay says he must stay focused. The bald guy approaches, saying they must have gone too easy on him before since he is standing up wanting to fight. Jay rotates his body and then throws a jab at the guy's face. The bald guy is quite surprised. Rotating his hips and putting his body forward, Jay throws a straight punch. All the bullies around are impressed. The bald guy stumbles to the side. The young man stays alert, having landed his first punch on the bully. The others ask what the boy is doing. In his hand, the bald guy sees ketchup and gets furious. Jay closes his guard, saying his punches are having an effect. The bald guy hesitates to advance. Jay looks at him, thinking to himself not to be afraid. The bully trembles. Beck arrives, telling the bald guy to back off unless he wants to become a basketball. Beck asks if the boy has learned boxing. As the boy approaches, Jay waits for the right moment. The guy next to him says the boy skipped the easiest level and went straight to the final boss. Getting closer, Beck smiles and says he will see what Jay is made of. The two stare at each other, and Jay says he can't win if he fights fairly. Beck jokes, saying he is right in front of him and asks if Jay will hit him. The boy says if there is a chance, he will take it. Jay manages to throw a punch, but Beck easily dodges. The boy tries to corner Bach with aggressive punches, but he dodges them all. Jay says that if he can land just one punch on Beck when his guard is down, he might have a chance. While the two fight, the bullies are surprised. Jay says he just needs to land one punch, just one, but in all his attempts, Beck dodges. The boy is already running out of breath. Beck says if Jay swings his arms like that, he is bound to get tired, so every punch needs to be precise and bold, like the one he just landed. In his mind, the boy says the first strike is crucial. It determines the advantage between you and your opponent. Beck asks what is wrong because Jay froze. Staring closer at him, Beck says he knows the boy is scared. Jay screams, throwing a punch, but the boy just sidesteps and delivers a terrible critical hit. Jay falls to the ground. Beck calls for his attention. The boy says that Beck is a monster, on a completely different level from him. Beck says he went easy on him and asked the boy to stop being a coward. On the ground, Jay is trembling with fear and exhaustion. He doesn't know what to do and wonders if there is a plan B. He says he is screwed, and for a moment, his mind goes blank. The coated guy says he knew the boy had no chance. Beck asks if Jay is giving up. The boy realizes something. The image of his father in the ring comes to his mind. Then he stands up. Beck says it wouldn't be fun if it ended so soon. Jay sighs determined and says that for now, he will raise his guard to block Beck's attacks. If he can hold on, eventually the kid will get tired. Beck says he likes that look in the boy's eyes. Then the kid says he will start the second round. He puts his hand behind his back. Jay feels uneasy, while the kid says the fight will start now. The boy says that one arm will make it easier to block him. Beck asks if Jay won't do anything. Suddenly, the boy takes a punch and is surprised but says he can't let his punches go through, so he must focus on his stance. The kid says that's not bad. He rotates his foot, launching several blows. Jay tries to endure. He has to endure because he's used to getting beaten up. Beck smiles and then punches the boy in the stomach, making him step back a bit. Beck says this feeling is great. Jay says the kid focuses attacks on his face to distract him, then hit him in the stomach. To prevent this from happening again, he needs to block him completely. Beck says the boy is thinking of covering all sides and wonders if he should play a bit more. The kid throws a quick punch and then sends another sliding sequence to the side. Beck hits the boy in the ribs but quickly moves to another attack. Jay says he needs to endure this. The orange-haired guy says that in the end, the boy is getting beaten up. Jay says if he can hold on, eventually an opening will appear. The boy notices Beck's foot stop moving and realizes he is preparing a knockout blow. The movement is too long, so it's now or never. He will gather all his strength to land this punch, so he only needs this chance. Surprisingly, Beck just dodges and launches a crushing counterattack. In a flashback, with a total of 13 wins, 12 losses, and 2 draws, Jay says probably no one remembers his father as a strong boxer, but no one thinks he is weak either. His father was a courageous boxer, which is why Jay always admired him. His father is working at a construction site, looking at the horizon, remembering his happy son, subconsciously wishing his son good luck. Beaten on the ground, the guy asks if they saw that, and the other questions if Jay is not dead. Beck watches the boy on the ground. He wonders why he is dizzy while the world is moving. He wonders where the ground is, because he needs to get up. Jay says he needs to resist. Beck says if he stays firm, he will surely get tired, and then have another chance. But at this moment, he hits him again with all he has, and questions if that was the plan, laughing and saying it's too obvious. At this moment, Jay doesn't know what to do, but he says it's not over yet, so he needs to pull himself together. He says he can still move. He tries to punch Beck again, but Beck dodges and counterattacks with a blow to his face. The boy doesn't know what to do. Beck seems to enjoy this. Jay says that if he can land just one punch on Beck when his guard is down, he might have a chance. While the two fight, the bullies are surprised. Jay says he just needs to land one punch, just one, but in all his attempts, Beck dodges. The boy is already running out of breath. Beck says if Jay swings his arms like that, he is bound to get tired, so every punch needs to be precise and bold like the one he just landed. In his mind, the boy says the first strike is crucial. It determines the advantage between you and your opponent. Beck asks what is wrong because Jay froze. Staring closer at him, Beck says he knows the boy is scared. Jay screams, throwing a punch, but the boy just sidesteps and delivers a terrible critical hit. Jay falls to the ground. Beck calls for his attention. The boy says that Beck is a monster, on a completely different level from him. Beck says he went easy on him and asked the boy to stop being a coward. On the ground, Jay is trembling with fear and exhaustion. He doesn't know what to do and wonders if there is a plan B. He says he is screwed, and for a moment his mind goes blank. The coated guy says he knew the boy had no chance. Beck asks if Jay is giving up. The boy realizes something. The image of his father in the ring comes to his mind. Then he stands up. Beck says it wouldn't be fun if it ended so soon. Jay sighs determined and says that for now, he will raise his guard to block Beck's attacks. If he can hold on, eventually the kid will get tired. Beck says he likes that look in the boy's eyes. Then the kid says he will start the second round. He puts his hand behind his back. Jay feels uneasy, while the kid says the fight will start now. The boy says that one arm will make it easier to block him. Beck asks if Jay won't do anything. Suddenly, the boy takes a punch and is surprised but says he can't let his punches go through, so he must focus on his stance. The kid says that's not bad. He rotates his foot, launching several blows. Jay tries to endure. He has to endure because he's used to getting beaten up. Beck smiles and then punches the boy in the stomach, making him step back a bit. Beck says this feeling is great. Jay says the kid focuses attacks on his face to distract him, then hit him in the stomach. To prevent this from happening again, he needs to block him completely. Beck says the boy is thinking of covering all sides and wonders if he should play a bit more. The kid throws a quick punch and then sends another sliding sequence to the side. Beck hits the boy in the ribs but quickly moves to another attack. Jay says he needs to endure this. The orange-haired guy says that in the end, the boy is getting beaten up. Jay says if he can hold on, eventually an opening will appear. The boy notices Beck's foot stop moving and realizes he is preparing a knockout blow. The movement is too long, so it's now or never. He will gather all his strength to land this punch, so he only needs this chance. Surprisingly, Beck just dodges and launches a crushing counterattack. In a flashback, with a total of 13 wins, 12 losses, and 2 draws, Jay says probably no one remembers his father as a strong boxer, but no one thinks he is weak either. His father was a courageous boxer, which is why Jay always admired him. His father is working at a construction site, looking at the horizon, remembering his happy son, subconsciously wishing his son good luck. Beaten on the ground, the guy asks if they saw that, and the other questions if Jay is not dead. Beck watches the boy on the ground. He wonders why he is dizzy while the world is moving. He wonders where the ground is because he needs to get up. Jay says he needs to resist. Beck says if he stays firm, he will surely get tired and then have another chance. But at this moment, he hits him again with all he has and questions if that was the plan, laughing and saying it's too obvious. At this moment, Jay doesn't know what to do, but he says it's not over yet, so he needs to pull himself together. He says he can still move. He tries to punch Beck again, but Beck dodges and counterattacks with a blow to his face. The boy doesn't know what to do. Beck seems to enjoy this. Immediately after, he slaps the boy in the face. At this moment, Jay is incredulous. The kid slaps him again and again and again. Beck hits him. Jay lies on the ground, breathless and without any strength. Beck says in the end, the boy only knows 1 or 2 things about boxing. Jay remembers his father's words, saying that even if he is on his knees, he can still get up. Beck says this was very fun, and from now on he won't bother him anymore, so he should stay in line. He stands up trembling. The boy asks Beck to wait, while his father's words resonate, saying that a true boxer doesn't give up. Jay tells the kid it's not over yet. Beck glances back. The orange-haired guy says the boy has courage, while the hooded guy says if he keeps this up, he will end up dead. Yu does nothing. Beck looks back with great anger. Jay sees a punch coming, but unfortunately, it was impossible to dodge. He is practically unconscious. Beck grabs the boy and starts beating him. The bald guy asks what will happen if the boy dies, and the other says he asked for it. Beck asks if he had warned Jay to stay in line. People like him should be beaten until they learn their place and questions if Jay really thought he could fight, asking if he thought learning boxing would let him defeat him. No matter how much Jay tried, he would never beat him. The boy says he never tried to win. Beck doesn't understand what Jay is talking about. He continues asking if Beck doesn't get it. Jay says he is not the same as before, so he has already won. Besides, he doesn't care about being the best in the region. Beck is speechless. Jay shouts that he will become a great boxer. The kid gets furious again and starts punching Jay. As he punches, he asks if Jay still thinks this is for wimps. In the background, someone asks if this is fun. Everyone watches. We see the protagonist standing. He asks if punching people is fun. Elsewhere, the master asks what the trainer was doing with the boy earlier. He asks the master what he thinks about trusting his instincts. The master doesn't know what to say. Kay says that when he looked at each athlete he trained, he had a specific feeling about them, a feeling that they would conquer the boxing world. He felt the same way about Bake, but that boy is a completely different animal, an unknown feeling. The master asks what kind of unknown feeling the trainer is talking about. We see the protagonist standing. The bald guy asks if today is some special day for crazy people. Approaching Yubi tries to say something, but takes a devastating punch, and several more in succession. The trainer says he felt chills, a fear that made him tremble. Nobody knows anything at all. Bake turns back as the protagonist displays no emotion. The protagonist easily punches the hooded guy, swiftly putting him out even though he sees and tries to run to attack Yubi. Fear paralyzes the orange-haired man, hence, he bolts. Bake doesn't know. The trainer asks whether he hadn't felt it at expression, his glance. The master questions him. Those hands striking him made him seem bored. The master seems not to grasp the circumstances. Yu stares aimlessly at Bak. The master queries whether one might be bored when under attack. Grinning, the instructor notes it is not feasible. He easily avoided a hit meant to take his life. The master finds it shocking. The trainer then notes that a boxer's speed cannot be matched by an average individual. Boxers trained for years, yet the man could see his fist approaching, gracefully and precisely, almost as if he had planned it. He then probes if the master understands what it entails. Although the trainer claims he has seen many geniuses, he never came across a youngster like that. But could you fix your gaze on one another? Bake questions what this tension is and why the lad is approaching him aggressively, looking like Wei. But in a split second, his face became nothing. The trainer claims that it goes beyond just reaction speed. Bak shouts, and the trainer notes that you experience altered time flow. The lad asks whether his eye is still whole. It goes on, declaring the lad of a totally other breed rather than a genius. Bak gets scared. Going back to Bak's past, everything began with a basic why, even if the trainer claims the lad is a monster rather than a human. Why isn't he dodging? Why not he give more forceful punches? Bak had little time to discover that solution. He gets bumped upon by a man. He becomes quite agitated. Bak looks at him just staring. Not too long later, the man is on the ground. Bak claims he is powerful and others are weak. He also notes that it is wonderful to feel superior. That day he began to fight. Bak invited people to fear him more, to idolize him more, much more. Before he understood it, his reputation grew. Thinking they would beat him, many gathered to challenge him. Every time he came upon an opponent, his heart surged. Bak discovered something along with the gratification of winning and beating everyone. How strong he is and how feeble they are. This kind of thinking got him to the top. Bak felt chosen, but today he becomes afraid of a basic jab. He questions whether a punch like that is actually feasible. Bak says he is the chosen one, hence it is impossible. The trainer acknowledged him as a genius even. Rising, Bake claims he made a humiliating error, and that punch has to be sheer coincidence. Bake loses it at this point and starts after the protagonist. Bake claims now he will offer 100%. You merely watch. The lad questions his ability to strike the other swiftly going boy. Bak claims he will throw all of his might into this punch and beat him till he starts bleeding. The youngster gets ready for the attack. You take his point of view. Bake believes the protagonist would dodge, then breaks Yu's guard, stating this is the difference of a talent chosen by the gods. The protagonist avoids, though, with considerable ease. Bak finds this astonishing. Coming from below, you punch back, almost knocking him out with one attack. You follow up with another, hard punch to him. Bak is disbelieving. Bak passes with many blows. Not seeing anything, the youngster wakes up wondering where he is. Where you are, he wonders. Bak experiences something frightening. Turning around, Bok finds his skill to be hardly noticeable. Examining it, he feels scared. He is panting, but a few minutes later, Bok understands. Not 1 inch of his body is whole. He is unable even of moving a finger. Bak had never known before this emotion. Then Bak understands that this emotion is the sour taste of failure. He lets forth tears. This sad and feeble 17-year-old youngster wailed like a 5-year-old child. 2 people later, at another location at the gym, watched the trainer while the guy in yellow notes he thought Bak would recruit the old man. The man with the pompadour questions whether they could not benefit from the excellent trainer K's presence. Approaching, the 2 ask if the trainer may provide them some advice. He replies he is not interested in little Fry. The lads leave in a dismal state. He pauses to give careful thinking. He remarks he wants the protagonist. He will have him even if he has to kidnap him. He never in his life has wanted someone so strongly. The master notes Bak not yet shown up for training. The door unlocks. The master notes Bak took too long, but we find our protagonist arrived. Everyone sees him. The protagonist answers yes when K asks whether he would want to pick up boxing. The trainer promises he will turn him into a professional boxer. Yu claims he suffers with a disease. The hand of our boy is all damaged. K remarks on this. Yu claims he need money to cover his hospital bill. The trainer wonders whether Bak was an opponent since he understands what transpired. Yu says, straightforwardly, he is weak. The master is incredulous. K wonders whether he truly only needed the money for his hospital bills. According to the elderly man, should it be required, he would purchase the whole hospital. Yu then should show him the route to the hospital according to the trainer. Leaving, K adds he owes one to the master. Bak is in bed at the hospital. K thinks Bak was very definitely defeated. His ego suffered greatly following this occurrence, but it is not of importance to him. Jay stays in the hospital as well. Yu smiles as he sees him remembering the lads shouting. Does Yu respond yes when the trainer asks? When K gets to the boy's residence, he questions whether Yu resides there as it seems deserted. Does the lad have parents? The trainer asks. No is his response. K promises to come back in a week fully loaded with documentation. The trainer names the lad. Yu says Yu has a fleeting flashback of a woman. His cat moves forward. The protagonist answers then that his name is Yu. From today, K says Yu will have a fresh life. He will expose him to a completely different universe. Like some who reach brilliance without much work, others are left behind. Destiny guides each person to a certain road. Only the will of the brave will remain in this fast-paced, logical race of life and destiny. They will be the only ones to march alongside their heads held high. Yu's trainer queries her readiness. Yu responds holding the kitty. Looking at the protagonist, he feels something is off. The trainer believes the protagonist looks much better when gel on his fingers smooths Yu's hair. A while later, the 2 show up at the airport. The travel has worn the cat somewhat exhausted. K spots the folks handling the baggage. The woman welcomes them. K asks whether things have gone as expected while he was away. Yu argues it's not required, while Butler claims he will seize the protagonist's bags. Seeing our child, the female introduces herself, stating her name is Carmen and she manages the gym. Carmen reports they have a car waiting for them. Once at the location, they get out of the automobile. The protagonist surveys her surroundings. The girl states Yu will reside in this house. She adds that if he needs anything, he should simply phone her, as the protagonist didn't want a large house and sought for a smaller one. The protagonist doesn't have much luggage, the trainer notes, hence they will head directly to the gym. K claims that this is Lion's Boxing Club, his gym. Everybody waits when the trainer shows up. With several advantages, the manager claims this gym is the biggest in the nation. Carmen keeps on discussing the gym. Impressed by his freshness, the people stare at the protagonist. One also sees a lad observing him. According to Carmen, few boxers in the gym receive trainer instruction. Most of them are professionals. Our lad claims he understands. Furious, the girl says these geniuses always approach things the same way. K brings Yu to another trainer called Arnaud and notes that shortly the protagonist will go on a tour and get used. The trainer notes Yu staring at another corner. K claims those posters are world champions he personally trained. They are so deserving that boxing history bears their names. Though right now he is at another gym, his best masterpiece is the one on the right. Kay orders Carmen to set aside 2 heavyweight slots for Yu tomorrow. She nods in agreement. The trainer softly asks Yu to pay close attention so he may understand that he is not alone among monsters. People are screaming at a championship. From above, Yu and the trainer see a combat in progress. The man performing in the ring seems afraid. A monster is guiding a hit at him, then numerous fists show here. The ferocious assaults of the world champion persist. The other man finds difficulty. His arms are breaking under pressure. He gets knocked out at last. The war is over. The challenger is being hauled on a stretcher. Everyone wonders whether anyone else could pick the belt off the champion. The trainer laughs, stating the man has the same destructive force as before. Then she instructs Yu to pay attention to those cheers since people would go insane for him not too far future. His will be all the riches, glory, and respect. Kay yells he will turn Yu a king. Finally, he says in his thoughts, the moment of his dream coming true is approaching and adds he is looking forward it. You saw in an incomprehensible darkness that oppression is under the sun and that there is no comfort for the weak. Strength flows on the side of the oppressors. Then he said the dead are happier than the living, but greater than both is the one who never had birth. Yu recalls the words of that light and says someday they would meet once more at the summit when the protagonist is stronger. Yu is awake in his gloomy room middle of the night. He opens his dead eyes. The protagonist pats the kitten. We see the old man and another youngster at the gym the next day. Josh wants to fight Yu, the trainer says, and should he win, he wants to take him as an apprentice. The lad agrees, but Kay adds he will make him a champion if he can even scratch him. Josh is getting dressed rather later. Everyone around discusses the battle the lad would face against Yu, and notes Yu is a genius, but Josh is not weak either. The lad exudes wrath. Josh was whining to the trainer just a moment ago since he had won a youth tournament. Most professionals admire him. Kay claims he has remarked many times that a boy's talent is not particularly unique worldwide. He discovered 2 persons more gifted than him on his little journey. It is not enjoyable to train someone whose limitations are clear. The lad is a little angry, but claims he only needs 1 punch. Then he asks the trainer if he really only needs to scratch him. Josh yells he will prove Yu false and demolish him. Kay remarks he is looking forward it. Right now, the lad already finds himself in the ring. Yu's trainer is guiding him on hand-wrapping techniques. Josh is furious since Yu lacks even basic knowledge of how to wrap his hands by himself. The throng is eager and want the combat to begin quickly. When someone questions whether everything would be okay, another remarks on the protagonist's body and says it seems he has never set foot in a gym. A man reminds everyone never to undervalue someone the trainer brought in. It reminds him in his mind of the time the trainer brought Aaron initially. Their aptitudes were on much different levels than his. When Josh finds he will never be able to surpass an opponent, he wonders what he would do. Kay says everything is ready, then probes whether the protagonist is anxious. No, he responds. However, he wonders why so many people are assembled. Kay says Yu's first boxing class is here, hence he has to avoid being hit even once from today until Yu's career ends. The lad responds somewhat grudgingly. For the first lesson, Kay claims that is all the protagonist requires to know. The trainer is quite enthusiastic as the 2 are already in the ring. The match is commenced by the referee. Josh charges our boy with incredible force. Yu merely watches, coolly avoiding. Again, he avoids. Not one of the lad's blows finds Yu. Josh tries once again. The protagonist avoids. Josh is much admired by the audience for his quickness and stinging jabs. Still, the trainer is utterly thrilled. Everyone begins to understand that Yu is not being hit by any of the lad's fists. The same man as earlier notes that as he is quickly dodging those unrelenting fists, the protagonist lacks strength but only speed. Does Yu have slow-motion views of Josh's punches? The main character avoids once more. Everyone claims this to be unbelievable. Saying it's impossible since he couldn't land a single punch, Josh is tired. The lad understands it wasn't a joke when the trainer told he couldn't even scratch him. He meant business. Before Josh stands before a massive wall. He acknowledges he should cool off. Josh says at this precise point he will mix different attacks to create less predictable patterns. Still, his work has been useless. Saying he is working harder than anyone, for many years he wonders how this is possible and aims to be a champion. Still, All his focused time seems to be useless. Knowing Josh is a talented boxer, the trainer says he understands how unfair it is. The only thing the lad has is his footwork and direct jabs, together with his rigorous training sessions. Josh's effort cannot equal divine ability, no matter how much he wants to reject it to himself. Saying the first round is over, the referee blows the whistle. Josh is tired. The trainer advises it's time to call off this. Kay says, now it's time for the second lesson. He claims that someone you get on the chin will pass out. Stated differently, you only have to evade and strike. The trainer probes whether it's simple, you reply yes, sidestep wisely, and give strong punches. A boxer spends years trying to perfect these two elements. A genius is born with the natural capacity to develop his own style of motions. You are a prodigy. Hence, instead of teaching poor moves, just provide him basic aims. His presence is the very boxing's incarnation. Josh doesn't care even if he is furious witnessing the trainer instruct you. The lad notes he has never seen such skill in his life and acknowledges your reaction speed is incredible. Still, one thing talent cannot do for him. Only effort makes energy and endurance what they are. At the end of the first round, Josh remarks, "You seem tired." The lad claims he lost a lot of energy becoming anxious, but in the second round he will press you until his fists knock you flat. Josh passes out as the referee gets ready. The referee wakes the lad and notes he seems pleased he woke up. Josh sees Kay go. The referee notes that was a decent effort. Josh is depressed since he now realizes you are on another level and that the trainer's comments that teaching someone with such clear limitations is not fun-have truth. When the protagonist asks Josh whether he wants to go another round, he believes going farther is too much and might possibly be regarded as shame. You advise him to act any way he chooses. He is rather annoyed. The lad expresses a query. Josh claims that another powerful guy, the trainer, visited the protagonist's nation named and asked whether you know who it is. Then you inquire whether this other individual is stronger than him. Remembering our brave one, the protagonist responds most likely yes. Sad Josh then lowers his head. Left by himself is the lad. A journalist is chatting on the newest boxer Kay is training. The lightweight contest this year will be fantastic, he thinks. Glasses-wearing man asks whether the blonde found any scoop. The blonde notes that it is difficult to obtain information as the elderly man is quite protective of his boxers. The two discuss the first official match of boxer K under training. Still, this time he was able to gather some information. The new guy has just been training endurance for the previous 2 years, he claims. Our main character is sprinting while recalling some boxing techniques. You are still sprinting. He passes by his cat when getting home and heads directly to the bathroom to pee himself. We next find the boy's body. Carmen then is introducing Yu's first opponent in the gym. According to her, his moniker is Rookie Killer, and he got this moniker after defeating other rookies aiming for professional success. His area of expertise is defeating amateur fighters by means of dirty tactics during combat. However, he is not a major threat if the fighter escapes the dirty tricks unnoticed. Though they always have trust for the trainer's ability and understanding, there is a worry that their belief of Yu's weight loss was exaggerated. They also question if it would be acceptable since all they have done in the past 2 years has been get you in shape and have him watch boxing events. The trainer notes this presents a conundrum. Elsewhere, we find the so-called Rookie Killer training. While observing the training, the blonde from before remarks that the punch combos are strong and John's teacher responds it's his primary weapon. This is the great filthy trick, the man says. He finishes up grabbing the opponent's head by accident while using consecutive hooks, therefore rendering a knockdown. The viewers refer to it as the guillotine hook, since it seems like a technique employed by wrestlers. John's great strength is the reason he has defeated several rookies. Someone captures the man's eye. He introduces himself as Peter and his trainer notes it's a reporter. John becomes animated. Even a reporter arrived to interview him, so a time later, he is laughing, saying the opponent you will battle must be a major issue. What kind of creature Kay has discovered this time? The man wonders. Although Peter says it's for the papers, personally I find John's status as a rookie killer intriguing, as it wouldn't be fun if this sport were predictable. John queries the reporter about if she knows 2 things about the game. He adds he likes destroying this kind of person since there are morons complaining about the quality of someone's training or about employing some hidden technique. He gets crazy seeing their faces as their dreams are dashed. Calmly, Peter replies he understands, then queries if John's approach was meant to inspire these morons. John says he is teaching them a lesson and probes what the reporter is referring to. Guidelines are supposed to be broken. He merely needs to knock out the opponent to finish triumphant, even though he suffers some fouls in the end. Peter claims to be a decent citizen, which is why he respects the law. John keeps claiming such people have chicken brains since those who fight by the guidelines are cowardly and weak. They are enraged when he defies the rules, since he seems to have taken some candy and argues that there are just two rules in this planet. You either are dead or living. Any boxer would get enraged at John's provocations, the reporter notes, especially in their debut. John's style reminds Peter of a particular fighter, then he asks whether he enjoys the middleweight world champion Fabrizio Santorino. John says the Santorino brothers are on a totally different level and are actual soldiers on this battlefield, asking whether the reporter knew. They are the best since they understand what a true struggle should be. In his mind, the association selected someone very fascinating for the debut and subsequently instructs the reporter to inform Mr. K and his apprentice that he will spit and eat him in the ring. Later on, we see John and his instructor on the roof. The elderly man queries on the interview process. He says it was simply a touch provocative, but wonders his trainer if he can truly prevail. You never know what could happen in the ring, hence he advises John to be more confident. John promises to keep that in mind and then present a great presentation. Yu shows up with Kei at the fight location the following day, and several reporters are reporting that Yu indeed is a quick boxer. Everyone wants to know whatever category the trainer is aiming for or how he found Yu. Carmen said they only allow interviews following the fight. John remarks next door that the other room is noisy, and his trainer asks whether he is nervous. He says his life's purpose is to crush the life of rookies. That's the attitude, his trainer adds. Someone shows up declaring John is next. He jumps up declaring it showtime. John makes the audience cheer. Although everyone claims he is the novice killer, he more resembles a king. John is much more thrilled since the audience is so very enthusiastic. The commentators Peter Cullen and Bob Norris are presented to us. Bob claims everyone is eager for the debut fight since it's the match of Kay's newest fighter in the ring. Cullen argues otherwise. John claims this will be a certain performance. He is eager to witness the disappointed look since he has never seen that many spectators for one match. Yu appeared standing at 175 centimeters and weighing 61 kilograms, shrouded in an enigmatic cloak, Cullen notes. He questions the show Kay will show them. Kay stares at Yu, then orders him to get on. Looking up and spotting the lights, Yu glances and climbs as the trainer orders. Peter wonders about the outcome of the game for someone who has only 2 years of endurance training. One, in the background, observes, John should maintain a close-range fight, the trainer advises, to stop the opponent from moving quickly. Kay advises Yu to follow exactly what he asked, nothing more, no less. Cullen asks whether the big person will finish off the opponent or if the young one will win the match. For a rookie, John believes Yu is too composed. He wants to find out whether he will remain this composed once the fight gets underway. Everyone observes the start of the conflict. The match is commenced by the referee. John remarks it's time for a pleasant trot, but something goes wrong. John trembled until he swallowed hard. A kind of fear he never would have dreamed he would encounter like a gun aimed at him awakened in him. Everybody says Yu will try to keep a long-range fight. John forbids Yu in his head. Everyone is shocked when he moves forward like a shot since a fist strikes his cheek, and blood streams from there. Kay just grinned. Returning a few days before the battle, Carmen expresses ignorance. Kay questions Yu's cooking technique to leave the viewers in astonishment. John gets forceful punches thrown at him. Although Yu is not to reveal the audience exactly Yu, the trainer got our lad ready to present himself to the audience even if there is a possibility to complete. The viewers find great impression. What sort of monster did he bring this time? The other trainer asks. John says he blacked out momentarily and looks down. Then, he starts to see blood. To call off the fight, the referee whistles. Cullen says the protagonist transformed John's face into a pool of blood in fast motions. The physiotherapist stops to check the cuts. The doctor in the ring finds incomprehensible. In 21 years of practice, the physiotherapist said he has never seen motions like them. Seeing the state of affairs, the referee probes whether there is an issue. The man observing that particularly the damage claims that punches or injuries just cause skin splits, but shockingly, those wounds are clean. Looking back, he wonders how they did that with those gloves. Yu strikes an absolutely perfect posture. John is terrified. Hallucinations underway, his heart racing ever faster. The doctor claims nothing is wrong, thus John can keep on the struggle. Approaching him, the referee inquires as to John's fighting capacity. Those, he argues, are only scrapes. The referee calls the game back to order. Bob claims John is bleeding a lot, although the wounds seem not that severe. Not just because of his expertise, he claims the protagonist is not like any other boxer he has faced, so something is wrong with him. Boxing is a disciplined activity with guidelines whereby skills fight with other skills. He doesn't feel any type of constraint from Yu's hit, hence they are not like some sort of assassins. His eyes spark with memories of his childhood, and he recalls the most frightening kind he came across, the one without feeling. John always on watch and says Yu is really hazardous. The lad strikes a straight blow while the man tries to move. John stags back, spewing blood on the floor. John claims he hit him and notes the lad is obviously far away. Whether Yu is even human, he wonders. In a flash, the protagonist is next to John. A punch is launched just 2 seconds later. The audience notices it. John tries to act, but Yu sidesteps and strikes him ceaselessly, constantly. The audience sees just blood here. John cannot win, hence his trainer understands. Actually, even he must have understood he cannot win. Yu is designing a toy out of him. Kay grins. John queries the lad about his punches. Where the blood comes, his guard is pierced right away. Then he understands Yu is not deliberately throwing any forceful punches. The protagonist strikes his rib and becomes wounded. John finds him incredulous. Violence, the instinct to survive, blood, and violence strike in his head. Entertaining the audience is absolutely better than anything else. Yu is the devil, someone notes in the backdrop. Right now, he has surpassed himself. The fun became ecstasy, that of wild craziness. Everybody is yelling and claiming the trainer brought the devil personally. John advises he should try to restrict his movements since the protagonist is the kind of guy who won't feel anything even after killing someone. Playing rough, he tries to step on Yu's foot, but Yu swiftly dodges. John is shocked, but once more he finds astonishment from another blow. He understands the lad is reading even his foot movements. The audience yells, calling John trash, stating he tried to act dirty, and they demand John simply die. Yu punches someone. The man is unable of doing anything anymore. Our lad strikes him, laying consecutive many blows. John still has a chance, the trainer argues, as Yu lowered his guard and is within reach. John can hold him. He cannot evade, regardless of the reflex's quality at that distance. Sadly, the crowd's pressure is too much. John is tired. His trainer orders him to gather himself. People are yelling more and more. John discovers he is in a great void. The trainer thinks in his head whether he is cool with this. In a flashback, we learn that nobody was born to be in the limelight. 4 thrashes and 7 loses. John was just someone throwaway at a couple decent hooks. He lacked the jackpot with his ordinary talent. John welcomes his trainer when he shows up asking whether he is training hard once more. He claims the hooks are not terrible, but still have a lot of development. The elderly man remarks he lacks respect, while John responds he is good at this, due of course of him. The two fixed each other. John is furious since the trainer reports his opponent has already been located, although the elderly guy claimed he still has a long distance to go. John becomes enthusiastic and asks who it is. His trainer answers that Isaac Dresner, a super elite athlete who has dominated previous events, is now vying for the medal. John inquires whether Isaac is in the same weight class after saying he heard he is aiming to go professional. The instructor turns to face him. John tells the elderly man he already has no chance, so he should not show that face. He is almost being given up for Isaac to make his debut. The elderly man lowers his head and apologies. He says John would be better if he had more to offer. Grinning, John probes what he is referring to. Boxing runs in his thoughts and in his blood. Though he isn't the best, he is still. Right now, he would be in the gutter without boxing. He so tells the elderly man not to apologize since he taught him a lot. Apart from striking the punching bag, John adds it is not over until it is. John complains. The trainer says those are smart comments from a novice, but nonetheless, he is a rookie with a loud mouth. It was a one-sided fight, as expected. His trainer even urged him to gather himself, but he realized he couldn't win. Seeing in Isaac's eyes that he doesn't care about John, the man keeps being battered. John does something as anticipated of a top athlete, but the man avoids and punches him. John tries once more, but Isaac counter 7 beats him. John keeps on, but for just one more day life for boxing is sufficient. His existence was always about attacking or being attacked, betraying or being betrayed, stealing or being stole from. Everybody advanced through the incorrect road in life. One dark and chaotic predator devour another predator. Though it was there that John first glimpsed the brilliant grandeur of this planet, his memory is the old guy grumbling to him. His arm seized the guy's neck, whether by chance or tragedy. He knew he couldn't stop now, so he hit him. Everyone, even himself, is impressed. Knocked out, the referee blows the whistle. Nobody expected John to triumph. Isaac got up once more somehow. John won miraculously from the humiliation of receiving his first knockout. On the roof later, the elderly man inquires about what the association said. John claims they missed the fouls and requested him to fight like he did today. If he can steady, the association will set up events so he will profit. What John's reaction was to that, the trainer asks. He says the world also requires villains. Right now, the throng is yelling that justice was done and is always calling for his death. His instructor is irritated. John is unsure about his next action. Cullen remarks this is a horrible sight. Everybody advises the man to get active. John mentioned he loved Fabrizio in the last interview, but his trainer recalls he would never admire that crap. John suffers greatly in his room at the end of every match, the trainer explains, but the fouls cannot be justified. John knows this better than anybody. Should he choose to cheat once more, the trainer will assist him at any necessary means. He will always be cheering for John regardless of others' disdain of him. The man keeps being harassed. His trainer claims he will always see his brilliance. The elderly man yells for John to give it his all and stay upright since he will always be by his side. Hitting the ring floor. John makes an attempt at retorts. He claims he truly envies him. John's kind of brilliance would never cause someone to worry about being sidelined. He would in reality never be booted out. Even boxing, he could rule the scene. Still, John's aptitude falls second grade. People view. Peter notes John will try to grab you. He claims he never will retreat. The protagonist defends, the lights lighting the ring, everyone terrified watching. John perplexes himself. You delivered a terrible strike that cracked the bone of his opponent. The man back off, but the suffering is too much. Yu finishes, and John passes out without any feeling. His teacher is shocked. Kay seems to be expressing total triumph. The opponent kneels, then collapses to the ground. The referee calls off the game. Screaming, the throng asks if John is dead. Cullen claims Yu gave a right that brought down the opponent. John is urged to stand up by the trainer. The trainer thinks in his subconscious he ought to have stopped John back then. He wanted to advise him not to be a throwaway fighter merely performing on a show. Sadly, though, those were never words he used. John's stupidity prevented the trainer from saying anything since he lacked the ability to make him stronger. Still, he is confident he could have stopped John if it were that golden guy. The trainer apologizes, nearly tears. John asks on the ground why the elderly man is displaying the same face once more as he mentioned earlier. The referee counts to call the round off. John reports that his trainer gave him good instruction. Kay notes the person got up. John adds he gained a lot of knowledge. The trainer is pleased, as is everyone else here. The referee counts on. John is virtually on his feet. Yu pays no attention. The referee counts on. John argues the old man has no need to apologize since he was rather helpful to him back then. John claims to have done once more something dumb. Actually, he yearned to be a boxer just like him. John asks apologies in his dying words. At last, the referee blows the whistle to call off the game. Cullen believes that evil itself has just now entered boxing. Yet, this is a terrible sight, a performance as vicious as a demon's. Someone is observing from behind. Though he just walks away, everyone yells and cheers. Peter finds it amazing how you demolish that guillotine hook. A little punch is a sort of mystical technique. Furthermore, remarkable was the protagonist's use of a hook to halt another hook, but only John suffered damage. Most likely, you targeted exactly at a weakness. The youngster responded quickly, beyond human boundaries. Looking at Kay, the man claims he discovered the most strong monster of them. Grinning, he says, "This is really fascinating. a rookie who engaged in rookie killer play. It was Kasim first, then it is you now. He also says he already gets the thrills from the best boxers. The look of a giant meant to create waves both large and little that would influence everyone in her vicinity. One man comments Yu was amazing. Does Josh enjoy the battle? He asks. He claims to have been simply considering some things. Josh somewhat feels comforted as his usual dream was never a realistic one. Josh assures his uncle he would perform in his bartending performance with greatest effort. Some folks then seem let down. Later on at the gym, Chul says he wished the rookie killer had won. He inquires of Jay about the friend he mentioned. Indeed, he replies. The lad claims Yu is shockingly powerful. Jay is quite thrilled as he studies the protagonist. He claims in his mind he felt Yu had something greater. Jay should not get very enthusiastic, Chul advises him, since the protagonist lives in a quite different environment from his. The lad claims he knows, but when they meet, he wants Yu to be proud of him. Then he begins jumping rope far quicker than before. Chul observes with wonder. Jay yells he can handle this. He claims this isn't terrible. The youngster yells louder, claiming he can do this. Chul remarks, "This is fantastic." The two start rapidly jumping rope. The master next to them probes what's going on with them. Elsewhere, someone seeing Yu's fight comments, "It looks fantastic." Several security guards flank him. Can a man beat him, he wonders? Arriving to tell Tsumi's men are here is someone? He claims he's leaving and Big follows. The lad glances at the television and then becomes enraged, driven by a terrible hate. Individuals yell, "We find a man battered." The man remarks the lad performed a decent job. Many opponents with bleeding fists are on the ground around him. Bak is really jealous, as we can see. A blonde dude is content close to the tournament site. He pauses as he asks Jean what he felt of the new Trainer K fighter. Jean recognizes the protagonist's blows. The man draws her attention. Jean murmurs something. He claims he loves Yu, and Jean, Pierre Manuel, the lightweight division champion, is the reason behind this. Someone is dining pizza and sipping beer in darkness. Another individual is seen observing Yu's struggle, identified as the guy here.